That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Borat Subsequent Moviefilm, also known as Borat 2, and then with a much longer... Did you know it has a much longer parenthetical?
No.
Delivery of Prodigious Bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan. It's technically the whole title. But here
I would have been better not to know that, actually.
Okay, Borat 2 is what we'll be referring to it as, which is available to stream as of October 23rd, 2020 on Amazon Prime.
For some reason, I wanted to say my birthday's coming up and you can Venmo me if you want. I don't know why I felt compelled to say that. My birthday's not October 23rd.
No.
Anyway, this film is a sequel to the 2006 film Borat,
which Larry Charles directed, and Jason Woliner, who's done a lot of television work, including What We Do in the Shadows, is technically making his directorial debut for a narrative feature.
So this time we find Borat in Kazakhstan. He's in a gulag. Mm-hmm. He's been punished for making a mockery of his nation as a result of his antics from the 2006 endeavor.
Mm-hmm. And his producer has become a chair.
So his approach to get back in the good graces of his people is he's asked to sort of like ask for a favor from the Trump administration.
His country wants him to curry favor based on his past relationship with the Trump administration. Yeah.
He's going to do that by offering a monkey.
It's the Minister of Culture, Johnny the Monkey.
The Minister of Culture is a monkey, offering it to
Mike
Pence. So he makes his way to the US of A, and he waits for his crate with the monkey to arrive. And when the crate arrives and we open it, we see that his daughter is inside the crate.
Tutar.
Her name's Tutar? Well, I didn't know that, actually. Unfortunately, Tutar ate the monkey.
Yes, she did. She's feral.
Whatever will we do? Oh, we'll offer the daughter to Mike Pence.
Well, there's an extended tangent where he's sending faxes home, and they say, "Don't come home or we'll kill you."
Sure. I'm just trying to tell the basic story. Sure. So for the first hour, it's because, like you said, this daughter, Tutar, is feral. So the first hour of the film is getting her presentable for Mike Pence. So then he takes her to meet Mike Pence, who happens to be at a CPAC event. That doesn't work out. But her story is that she was raised by Borat, and he has this like book that's sort of like
the Daughter Owner's Manual.
The Daughter Owner's Manual, and in it, the women aren't supposed to drive, read, do anything. Like they're worse than animals, because her goal, like her dream is to live in like a nice cage.
She wants to be like Queen Melania, which that's probably one of the best bits. Is a cartoon, a Disney version cartoon of Melania.
But a dream of hers is to be a journalist. So after her attempted run-in with Mike Pence doesn't go well, she decides that she's going to go off on her own, and she ends up getting an interview with Rudy Giuliani. And this is kind of what everyone's talking about right now, is that sort of scene, which we'll talk about in a second. She does end up meeting him. Afterwards, she finds like success as a journalist. So goes back in Kazakhstan. So now she's a successful journalist alongside her dad, Borat.
Fostering feminism in her country.
Yes. The end.
That's a very truncated version of the ludicrousness of the plot, but yes.
Really, the film is just like scene after scene of Borat doing uncomfortable, stupid things, making a mockery of people. I'll go into my rant about why I didn't like this film, but I guess we can just go through all the stupid shit that people probably want to know.
So, I think there's some amusement to be had here. It's just that it all feels like a sketch that goes a little dry.
Well, I was saying, why don't we just go through some of the funny sketches?
Oh, okay.
Well, my first note is that daughter, because when she's in her feral mode, she's dressed like, she looks feral and her hair's dark. But when she gets her makeover, I think she looks just like Shakira.
She a little bit. I a little Alison Lohman in there as well. She's my favorite part, Maria Bakalova.
For sure.
Making her debut. I think that this film would kind of be a complete loss without her.
Oh, 100%. So why do they have to go buy a cake? Who are they buying the cake for? That he says the Jews will never replace us.
I don't remember even.
They go to
There's so many things that don't.
Yeah, so Borat and Tutar go to a bakery and they need a cake and they have the person at the counter write, the Jews will never replace us. But Tutar wants a dessert for herself.
See, they use it to set up that.
And it's not allowed in that manual for her to have it, but he says you can have something. So she gets a little cupcake with a plastic baby on top. Mm-hmm. He takes her out back behind a dumpster and lets her eat it. But this bitch has never had one, so she scarfs it down and swallows the baby. Mm-hmm. So cut to them at
a women's clinic.
At a women's clinic, which you would think is an abortion clinic, but the gag is it's not. It's like a pro-life like setup. So then we have this like consultant explaining like that this baby is alive and like you can't kill it. But then of course Borat's like, no, the baby's dead. Like I put the baby inside of her. We did it behind a dumpster, insinuating that like he raped his own daughter and incest, all the taboo things. So that's one thing. Like for etiquette purposes and also like to introduce her to the world, she gets taken to a debutante ball.
Yeah, that's amusing.
It's amusing.
Because she has her period
because they do a dance, a father-daughter dance, and she has her period, and we see her like lift up her dress, and she doesn't have a bikini wax, so she's like this hairy, bloody mess. just crude.
Yeah, but that's his shtick. It's vulgar.
Although I did laugh during that debutante scene because when all of the young women are being introduced, they introduce her and they say that she's in school studying cage maintenance with a minor in VCR repair. I thought that was funny.
I also liked her pseudonym was Sandra Jessica Parker Drummond.
And then Borat's name was Philip Drummond.
Yeah.
From Different Strokes. I like that.
Yeah.
When Borat tries to take Tutar to meet Mike Pence, they go to the CPAC event, and he walks in dressed as like in hood and robe, like a KKK member. So we'll get into it, but so much of this shit feels very fake, and that was one point where I thought there is no way this man walked into this event dressed like that. Then he goes into a bathroom to rendezvous with Tutar. So he's in the bathroom with her at this event in this convention center. Then he puts on a Trump costume, like fat suit, like believable, like latex mask, throws Tutar over his shoulder, and then runs through the convention center into the actual conference, and then there's a disruption. The way it's edited, it's not clear to me that the disruption that Mike Pence is reacting to, because we see Mike Pence on stage speaking, and then you can hear people booing and him kind of looking in a direction, but it's not clear that what Mike Pence is reacting to is happening when we see Borat causing a disruption. I thought it looked kind of fake. And I just don't understand how this person could run through, like the vice president with all the Secret Service there, how could this person run through and cause a disruption without being taken down?
Right.
So, I mean, that's a scene that happened. I thought it felt very fake.
Well, it felt like an attempt at something reckless that didn't really even pay off for him. But
he decides to go into a synagogue dressed as like a demon and like denounce the
and all these anti-Semitic demeaning.
Yes, and then his shtick is that the Holocaust. He's told that the Holocaust didn't happen, but as a person from where he's from, he is proud of the Holocaust. So that's a
because
thing.
that's the only thing that makes he's saying that his town famous.
He goes into the synagogue and is like obviously trying to cause. I think the only sort of like moment in the film that made me feel like, I don't want to say good, but just like there are two old Jewish women. The film's dedicated to the one Jewish woman who passed in 2020. Her reaction to him. So this is what I want to. Well, I'll save it, but remind me to talk about this Jewish lady.
Oh.
What other scenes am I missing? The QAnon people. He spends like 3 days with these
5
days
in character apparently.
That seems so fake. And then he's like having them talk about like how bad like Democrats are and the Clintons and Obamas, and it just feels so tired. He ends up having to order a flashlight.
Flashlights.
But then, because of his accent and talking to Amazon or Alexa, he says, "Alexa, send me a flashlight." But Alexa sends flashlights. Like, that's a stupid gag. They end up going to a Trump rally, and he sings. So that's another scene that people have been talking about. He gets up and sings a song about like Obama.
Well, that was leaked a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's just as like I'm not convinced any of those people like. I'm not convinced that any of them aren't actors. But it doesn't matter.
From what I was reading, that definitely wasn't staged because he had trouble getting away from it, according to him.
He needs his ass whooped, actually, for pulling all these stunts. But anyway, any other scenes we're missing? Before we get to Giuliani?
The scene where Tutar experiences her first orgasm in the bathroom. Because she is also the black lady in it who's the replacement for Lunel.
And God bless Lunel. She just had knee surgery, so I hope she's getting better.
It's not Lunel in the movie, but she was supposed to babysit Tutar like a dog, and kind of inadvertently gives her a sense of agency. Yes. Tutar runs off and kind of crashes this Hillsborough Republican Women's Conference, which is very small, and has her first orgasm in the bathroom.
She discovers masturbation while she's in the restroom.
And then jubilantly tells them, which is apparently is a faux pas to them. That was notable because if you pause your screen on that one lady's face...
If it's real.
I think so. I don't
know. I'm so cynical because it's like everything's fake, so...
Well, I think the distraction of the movie is, like, none of this is shocking because I think that...
Well, he already did it 14 years ago.
Well, yeah, but seeing people's behavior, whether it's staged or not, none of this is shocking to me. So because I feel like Sacha Baron Cohen is preaching to the choir. So as part of the choir... I'm constantly distracted thinking, how scripted is this right now?
Yes, but I wanted to finish. So the last scene we want to talk about is Rudy Giuliani. So what happens? She gets an interview with him. He understands that Tutar, that reporter, is 15 years old. Mm-hmm. So they sit and this is during the pandemic, so they're wearing masks. They take the masks off. They're sitting across from each other. And immediately he's kind of like, because she's a beautiful woman, she's kind of flirting with him. He's receptive. She's touching him. The interview gets disrupted a little bit by Borat coming in and checking the sound because he hasn't seen his daughter in some time because she ran away, blah, blah, blah. The interview ends. Because the interview's taking place in like a hotel suite, so they go back to a bedroom and he asks for her phone number. She says that she wants to like remove the mic. He lays down on the bed, unzips his pants, and reaches down into his crotch. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Borat runs in dressed in women's lingerie.
He hears Borat coming, and he sits up right away like, whoa!
And then Borat's dressed in women's lingerie saying, like, don't have sex with my daughter, have sex with me instead. And then really, Giuliani gets up and says, I don't want you, and like runs out and talks to his people, like, what's going on here? And then they leave the end of that scene.
And I think, doesn't Sacha Baron Cohen say, like, she's too old for you, she's 15.
That's the only scene that's the only reason to watch this film, to just see what a creep Giuliani is.
Oh,
because that has to be real. He wouldn't put himself in that predicament on purpose.
Well, back when it was filmed, he called the police. And ran away.
That's, I guess, the appeal.
He's been trying to do damage control on it since it happened, and has been saying that he was simply taking the mic out, although that's not where microphones are placed during an interview.
Okay, so getting back to what you were saying, I think like we are in a really dire time right now, like with COVID and politics, the Supreme Court, so many things that are very serious are happening, and I just think like this film is in poor taste. And I'm crude and I say rude things all the time, but I just think like this shit seems real just late, delayed, tired, tacky, like all the things. Like it also feels like they maybe tried to start filming something, it wasn't really panning out. They got the Giuliani bit and then they built a film around it. it just feels counterproductive. Like, why do we need to watch, like you said, it's preaching to the choir, except that I don't think it's productive to like belittle and make a mockery of people who don't share the same views. It's not going to get us anywhere. Also, spoiler alert, these people who are supporting Trump got his ass into office. So they're not to be taken lightly. We should be respecting all of our citizens and exercising democracy in a way that's productive. And maybe I'm just getting old, but I don't think shit like this helps anything. You know, something like Religulous, which also was, to me, less offensive because it really was someone trying to articulate the history, like this is why this shit is ridiculous. You know, at least there's something to it. But Borat just being, or Sacha Baron Cohen having no shame and no fear of like embarrassing himself to make a mockery of other people is not an act of service. And it's like, you've done it before.
Well, he's done it before, and I think
it's not shocking, it's not provocative.
We've morphed into, you know,
people on Instagram and TikTok do more shocking shit to me. I'm
sure, but like our country has morphed into like a pre, if not mid Orwellian phase. So the notion of a mockumentary, it just doesn't have the same impact. It's like it has now incorporated into this kind of newspeak, and how can you continue to be satirical doing that? And it also arrives at a time where it's like almost immediately a time capsule, because the shifting landscape of COVID even, and what was in the lingo about the Wuhan flu, like nobody's even using that lingo anymore. So it just, I think I kind of had high expectations because I so wanted something delicious, right, you know, 10 days before, or however long before the election starts. But it did feel kind of tired and a little bit pointless. But
yeah.
But that said, he does, the shock value of what he, if, you know, this was unscripted and got what he did get away with, I think is still has the ability to shock and awe a little bit. But to what ends, I guess.
He does revisit that bikini, the green bikini, except it's made out of like a face mask. What would you give this film? I'm changing my score actually now that I've talked about it.
I think 3 out of 5 is fair.
Oh, I would give it 1.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay.
We don't need this right now. I'm already stressed and like anxious about the future, and then to see someone like does he think he's being helpful?
I will say I did laugh a couple times, but I think more often than not,
too. To be fair,
I was just very unhappy. I'm very unhappy when I have to see these sentiments reflected. You know, like there are people out there that would, you know, just kill me if they could. Like that's depressing to me. But I'm also, I don't know. It's just, I don't think it had its intended effect. But I will say that the Giuliani bit is fascinating.
Anything else?
No.
Bye.
Bye.